Hey there, this is Ricky Giacchini, the VP of Product at CloudRadial. In this deep dive overview, Evan Griffith, the Director of Customer Success, is going to show you the intricacies of CloudRadial's ticketing forms. For full transparency, this is an edited version of his full webinar with only the most relevant parts left in. I hope you enjoy learning about CloudRadial forms and all that they can do for you.
So right off the bat, I just wanted to kind of demo what our product looks like when different types of users log in. So right here we have an experience for an end user for Jared Woodward. He works for Evans Paints. You know, it could be any company in general, but what he sees right away and what I recommend is something pretty straightforward, especially if you're at the beginning of CloudRadial or a relationship with a partner using a portal. So Jared right away, he knows that he's part of HR. He knows that he has processes like onboarding. We all know that those onboarding and offboarding users are incredibly important. He can add a user to a calendar. If he doesn't see what he likes on this screen, he can also just simply click report an issue and submit a request. So the first experience Jared had right when he goes to the portal that he's been told to do some IT things or do any of the requests he needs to do moving forward, it's very straightforward for him. So let's go ahead and take a look at the concept of adding a user. So right away, if he clicks that button, it's going to take him right to the form and he can get started. And all these questions should be pretty familiar because what your goal is going to be is to take the situation that they're already doing, maybe through email or just in any other means, and convert it into a form. So no more back and forth, no more phone calls, no more missed questions and opportunities to get this situation solved. So you can see it can be pretty long-winded. Depending on your onboarding and offboarding processes, you have a lot of different options you can make, and we have different pages that can be separated on different types of questions. So I wanted to showcase something a little more simple just to do a quick demo for how quickly something can be just submitted for an end user and the experience overall. So let's say Jared comes in here. We don't need to go through a long-winded onboarding experience right now. We just need to add a user to a calendar. And Jared's HR, we found out that Nick is going to be promoted, and we want to give him access to the sales calendar, and we need to give him full access. Now, we know a lot of times that this can be done using scripting, but sometimes the experience can be confusing, which calendar, with things like that. So keep in mind that this is just straightforward, answering all the questions. When do you need this completed now? Or maybe you want it completed later. You can see a conditional pop up that allows you to see specifically what date you'd like to get it completed. We're going to do now because we're going to get this done now. So Jared just submitted a request to you guys, the partners or the IT. And basically what ends up happening is we have the ability to see the ticket is submitted down here with a number. We also can put a number in a confirmation and even a redirect to the location of ticket. So Jared wanted to see, he has, clearly we've been testing before, right? So Jared has a few of these requests already going through. So that's the end user experience, right? Done. I just submitted a ticket. It's off my plate. So who's next? Well, because we may not want to give full access right away without making sure it's approved, we created an approver experience. So when that ticket actually got submitted, what ended up happening was, if I can get sorry, 1 second, my off screen is being blocked for some reason. Here we go. We got a request for approval. So if we go ahead and click that, again, this is the admin experience now within Evans Paint. So we've determined that this request needs to be fulfilled.
But also approved by someone, before we just do it.
Right. So when you click on that, this is why
it's hard when you're sharing.
Yeah, it's not redirecting right now, but when you click on it, it's going to redirect you into the support ticket section for the waiting tickets specifically. Not entirely sure why that ticket didn't open at the time, but we'll just move forward. So when you see the waiting pending management approval tickets. Me as the admin, oh, I see that I have 2 tickets that I need to approve. We'll go ahead and approve this one that just came in. And we just have a drop down here that allows us to see the ticket. We can also, read the details if we wanted to. Luckily for us, the title makes it pretty straightforward as well. We're going to go ahead and approve this ticket. And what that's going to do is going to change the status. So now I only have 1 more ticket to approve. And if we take a look as an admin, I can see now this is a new client approved ticket. So I'm the client admin, I approve this ticket. So guess who's next? The agent. The agent's experience is pretty straightforward as well. You guys know we're going to utilize ConnectWise. Any of you that are using ConnectWise, you'll recognize this page. But basically, the new ticket comes in, the agent sees it. The title is pretty straightforward. We open it up, and just in case, because we used CloudRadial's form and we set it up in a certain way, we can actually see that there are tasks for your agent to perform. So it's pretty straightforward. The first one says see attached script. So if I go in here, I can see the attached script. And you'll notice I actually had a conversation with a client earlier today about generating scripts automatically. But basically what ends up happening is because we filled out certain answers in the form, we're able to fill out certain pieces of a script and make that script ready to run right away. So go back to the tasks. What am I supposed to do next? Well, it looks like we've created a pretty simple run script, simple response, change status to close after you respond. So pretty much, if we go ahead and complete this ticket, adding the note, I'm not going to fill in these pieces, but you get the gist. So basically, you would just paste the user and email department. Again, you can make these even more automatic if you wanted to. We're going to then solve this problem. We let the customer know it was solved and save. So basically, even with explanation, that took me, I don't know, were we time was like 3 to 4 minutes to have someone request something from you directly into a portal, have someone in their company be notified that they needed to approve that issue, and then have your agent know exactly when they need to perform the task and complete the task. And nobody has to guess what to do. They all just have to follow it's almost like a guided tour of the adding a calendar experience. So now let's go into kind of how did I build that?
Will you show them in the support tickets how they can look and see in the support ticket that ticket's been closed?
So we have an open status. Basically, you set these in our PSA settings, which we can dive into a little if anyone has any specific questions. But you can set up statuses to determine tickets that are, well, actually, I'm sorry. Depending on the PSA, we have statuses for tickets that are open, so you can see those here. Statuses for tickets that are closed. So we just closed this one because that's what we determined that status is. So you'll see it here. And then also, of course, statuses for those waiting tickets. So you can actually decide which tickets you want to be specific to this location as well.
And what's nice about this is if you're an admin, you can see, if you're an admin, a client admin, you can see all the tickets across your company. So you can see how many tickets are sitting out there, what's going on, which ones need approval. And then, but if you're a client, just an end user, then you would only see your tickets that you've requested. So this is really a nice being able to see, what's going on, and also being able to see the history of that ticket. So if there's any conversation, you can look into the ticket and you can see it, the back and forth. Yeah, see, you can see where he closed the ticket and you can see that information in there.
Exactly. So using this flag is really useful. It also helps trigger our approval processes. But like Safi said, the admins have the ability, you have the ability to decide who can see what tickets. So admins, of course, are going to see all the tickets that they want to see in their company, and then the end users are only going to be able to see their tickets. That's exactly right.
Yeah, the
So
other piece of
yeah,
that
go ahead.
though, and I'm sure you've got this going somewhere else, Evan, but being able um, to use the CSAT that's built into CloudRadial as you go through the ticket. So they can kind of voice their sentiment as they cruise through the ticket. So if they're mad that you haven't picked it up right away, you're going to know about it ASAP and still,
Exactly.
not having to wait till the end to figure out that this client is upset with you.
We have a way to push out content to everybody. And anytime you add a new customer, you can push out is what we call content. But sometimes you go in, and if we take a look, like let's say for Evans Paints, I'm an admin here as a partner. Their form is just so unique that I really need to go in and give them a proper custom made one. Depending on how customized it is, we have ways to kind of scale it to where you don't have to fully make the form custom, but to give someone a uniquely custom form, you can utilize our sample content at first. But if you say, you know what, this form needs to be edited, we'll go to a different customer because I'm pretty sure I've customized all these forms. So we'll go into this one just to show you that experience, to make sure you understand when you're doing it, to not be afraid of this messaging. So we have this subscribed content. So if you end up using any of our sample content and you want to edit it to make it custom, what this is basically saying is, look, this is now going to be custom. If you continue, you will need to make the changes to this form at the company's portal moving forward. It's no longer going to be tied to this sample service catalog. If you don't want to do that, you can simply click the sample service catalog button. It'll take you right there, and you can edit the form and push it out to all those customers. Or again,
you really want to use it for, I mean, if you're going to I always used to call it break the subscription. If you're going to break the subscription
right.
of an item, then you do it specifically for that company, unless you have, the same process for add a new user or, but I know, especially with onboarding, everybody's process is a little bit different. So I would always go in and put add a new user or add a new Evans Paints user. I would modify the title of it so that I knew that if I went into their portal that I had modified something in there.
Right.
So
and
it's
you can
just
also,
like a little trick.
And if you guys still have any pesky customers with on-prem servers in a closet or something that always need to be rebooted, and that experience is always like a phone call that's missed or an email that took a little too long, or maybe it's, you can always create something unique like that, right in their portal. Say, hey, Jared, here's your button for that server in the closet whenever you have a problem. Like, click this button. And that's how you can customize. You literally just go into those portals and add specific content. And if you like that content enough, you can technically then save it into a package and use it for other customers as well. So yes, the answer is yes, you can do that.
So show them in the report a problem, if you go into how you work with report a problem and how you can modify those ticket items and what they do.
Okay, so we'll back up a little too. Report a problem and request a service. You may have noticed both these locations. What's the difference? So it's report a problem is I have something, it's broken, it's not working as expected, I need help with it. Mostly tied to IT, of course. So they click on a link. I call this it's more like serious. It's text driven. It's not as straight, it's basically straight down to the issue. You have an issue with your computer, your office phone, your printer, or maybe something else. Let's be honest, most end users, these three will probably cover everything, because depending on what their issue is, they might pick computer every time, but they will pick office phone. So that's the concept here. Something's broken, I need it fixed. In the request to service location, and again, these are our suggestions based on a lot of demos, a lot of implementations. You can totally use things the way that you prefer. Just keep in mind that these recommendations are pretty straightforward, and they're very useful for your end users to understand where they need to go for what. So you can see that this location is a lot prettier, right? My recommendation is someone needs to buy something, someone needs to make a change, basically that's here. Nothing's broken. I just need you to do something because you're my IT. So I'd like to order some more hardware. I'd like you to remove a user, add a user to a calendar. So think about it those ways. Report a problem as something's broken. I need you to help fix it or get me back to a state of being fixed, and then request the services. I would like you to add something, change something, or I'd like to purchase something. Technically speaking, both of these locations are identical. You may have seen me click this add and all of these options here. If you look, both areas are almost identical. But for the purposes of showing you exactly, you may notice a little bit difference here. So we'll just go straight kind of down how these work. I'm actually going to edit that one that you've seen just so you could say, hey, I recognize that. So here's the category as human resources. You see that we added that to that button there. You can always select the category once you type it. But keep in mind, you can also type a new one. This isn't strictly stuck to the options here, so you can always add a new category. Typing the subject, append the subject to the ticket description. So you see when I submitted the tickets, you can make it to where it's pretty like this ticket right here, the summary description, I know exactly what I need to do right when that ticket's submitted. So you can kind of make sure that you append what you want to the subject when it's submitted. Should a file upload be displayed? So that is pretty straightforward, but it allows you to add an option for them to click a browse their computer button, or add a file to their to the ticket itself as an attachment. You can also do should a signature be required with this request. I'll go ahead and check these off and show you what they look like when once I submit. Short description is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to give you that short description. You can see it right here. Use this form to add a user to a calendar. And here's the difference between the report a problem and request service, really. It's the stuff that makes it pretty. So the button text, you can change that. So I can, I can say add user if we wanted to change that request. Show price doesn't make sense, right, for an add a user to a calendar, unless you guys are charging 50 cents every time they try to add a user to a calendar. You could be. But showing price, we'll just go ahead and add it, 50 cents. We'll say that every time they do that, it costs them 50 cents. Tags, so this will allow you to see the items grouped together in a tag to make it easier to search for on the right-hand side. And then here's those icons Safi was talking about with applications. You'll see these here as well. We have these in a few locations, but this allows you to select the icon. So let's say when I created this, I typed in calendar. And we had a bunch of different options. Let's say I don't like the option I chose. Let's choose this one now. So we'll see that change. And the color, I want it to be a little darker blue. You can see the icon color can be, it's your classic hex. You can type it in, or you can select it based on the shades of whatever you'd like. Is this item pinned? The reason why I'm seeing this right here, top reference request, is because it's pinning it to this page. If you don't pin it, it'll show up in the category section on the right. You can open it up. So pretty much think of this as your ability to create a home page for the request. So the end user logs in, their home page is simplified for them. Then they go to the request. It's a bigger amount of requests, but it's still going to be simplified to the most important actions that you think that are the most important. Maybe the conversations you've had with them have determined. But then there can be even more stuff that may be more in depth or have unique requests that don't happen as often. And then, of course, we have, is this item partner managed? If you don't want your customers to be able to edit certain things unless they have an ultimate permission, you want to check this box off. I recommend checking it off all the time unless somebody absolutely needs to edit something that you've created for them. And then we go ahead and take a look at, oh, I deleted the category. We have a confirmation. Oh, I'm sorry. We went to the questions. This is the meat and bones of it. So if we take a look, we have a bunch of questions. You're wondering, Evan, how'd you create that form in general? Here it is. I created select the user calendar. So if you remember selecting the user to add a calendar, how did I do that? Well, I used the question type email. And they did a user lookup. So we have options called question types that really allow you to determine multiple choice, multi-select, radio dropdown, number. page separator. You can do format for phone. We also have question types that allow you, depending on the answer, to change the priority status or subtype type of an item based on the PSA. You can do a simple text one or utilize question templates. I'll show you what question templates are in a second. There's a lot of different options. I'm not going to go through all of them, but keep in mind, like, if you have a question about it, can you create something for a form? A lot of times the answer is probably yes with one of these question types. So we did a user lookup, so we didn't have anyone messing up the email address. We made it part of the subject and we made it required. The big key here is show more options. So if you notice that script was generated, what I did was I created this calendar user. I typed this in here because that's what I wanted to be added to the script. I want the answer to this, which is an email address, to be added to the script. So what that ends up doing is you can make the script right here. So you go, whoever knows how to do scripts. I copy and pasted this from Microsoft's website to how to do a calendar permission. You guys may be looking at me like, Evan, that's old, doesn't work that way anymore, but this is for demo purposes. If you notice, calendar user is in there as @calendar user. So the only difference between those locations is when you're generating your questions, you don't need to use the @ symbol. But when you're generating your script, you have to make sure that whatever you need to be replaced by the actual answer to the question is tokenized, basically. So you create the token @calendar user, then you copy this. You go to the question that wherever that answer is that fills out that question, and you paste it in here. So when the form is submitted, if you remember correctly, in my file here, all of those answers show up. Should have had it just right there. They show up in replacement of the token. So you'll notice if you just misspelled the token or something, you would see @calendar user here. So that's how that works in regards to being able to generate that script automatically. So when you submit the form, all of the answers are going to fill in all of the locations that you've replaced with those tokens. The next piece that's actually pretty cool, one of my favorite pieces, is the conditional. So you can decide to hide certain things based on certain questions. So you can see here, remember the last question I asked to the user was, what do you need? When do you need this completed? So I need it now, nothing shows up. What if you need it later? Well, then you need to tell me when, right? Like, I need to know when you need it submitted. So how does that happen? Well, basically what I have is a template that's called date needed. So right here in the form itself, I can't customize that. One of the reasons being is you're a partner, you create these templates. You don't want your customers to be able to edit those. So under partner settings, question templates, you can see here, date needed. Basically, I created a group of questions that I can plug this template into. I mean, how many requests do you have where someone may need something now or someone may need something later? That's probably a question you should ask every time, all the time, because if you make the assumption, you could get in trouble, right? So it's always good to ask that question. So why not create a template for it that says, okay, every time I create a new form, I may want to use this template. So what happened for the conditional is you have two questions. One is a multi-choice. The choices are now and later. Straightforward. The next one is a required date question type. So that's where you get that date field. And we click show more options and we say, I want this to only show up if that question equals later. I could add another question if I wanted to and say the exact same thing if that question also equals later. And you can continue doing conditionals, basically hiding certain pieces until certain questions are answered. So pretty much now, the entire form is built for this specific thing. I have question templates in here and a bunch of different question types. But if you remember, I also showed in the submission a message saying, thanks for submitting. I appreciate using the portal. Here's your ticket number. And that was actually from our confirmation tab. You can copy and paste our @ticket ID token. This is going to grab the ticket number that shows up automatically once the ticket is submitted. I also created that link. So I remember when you asked specifically if you could do certain links. So I created the link for the support tickets for me. So pretty much when you click on this, it's going to redirect you to that location. So there's basically, there's a lot of things we can do to make that 30-second submission happen. And the final pieces to it are, and this may be, remember Safi, when we were asked like seen tickets, it's possible the question could be about forms, maybe the chat can confirm, but they were asking if a department can see certain things or not, right? So we can do the forms, we can customize who sees the forms. So if I only want admins and HR, and I assign who those HR users are, I can make sure that the only people that can see those forms are in those groups. Now, when the tickets are submitted, that's a different permission, and being able to see those tickets is based on different permissions. So we do have the ability to customize the view of the forms themselves, so you can make sure that I don't want anybody other than admins or the HR people submitting out new user requests. We also have the routing tab. The routing tab is where does it go? So you can see here we have default tokens that automatically will submit them based on the values of those tokens in our token location, which is under partner settings tokens. You can see here the @default board is right here, and it's professional services. So this is going to go to that board. But because there's an approval, we may decide we want it to go to a different board. So we can either specifically type the board that we want it to go to, or if we have a token that already determines where that goes, we could use the token as well. We also have more PSA settings that allow you to really, if you have subtype, type, item, all those things filled out, we could send that and self-triage this ticket to where, again, user submits, it goes exactly where you want it to go. The people who can see those forms are the exact people you want to see those forms. The agents that can fulfill those requests are given the exact information they need to fulfill those requests. So you're basically creating a system where from start to finish, you're curating the whole experience to ensure, without even needing to train an end user or an agent or somebody, you can provide a curated package of a ticket or a request. So to move forward into that, and just to reiterate the approvals, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a little, but the ability to approve is also in the routing location. So where these tickets go, so that's where we determine who those users are that can approve it. So that's where I saw that. So pretty much from beginning to end, you can see how powerful that can make an onboarding request. Because if you can ensure that all the questions that need to be answered right away are answered right away, that the agent has exactly what they need to do when a request comes in and it goes to the exact location, you can really save some time in regards to people not knowing the right questions, not knowing the right answers, not submitting to the right locations. And finally, just to kind of touch on it, if you look under routing, we also have the ability to send these to webhooks like with JSON. So this will allow us to send all those answers. And if you remember those tokens, if you're tokenizing those forms, we can send it to a JSON webhook. So if you have things that are receiving JSON webhooks like automation tools, that should be able to, then all of a sudden, the form is submitted, everything is handled automatically based on whatever automations you're creating in your automation tools, receiving the data with the answers in it from our forms. And that's pretty much how the forms are created from front to back, and the experience from each specific user depending on the type of form that's submitted. You can also just have simple order hardware generates an opportunity There's a lot of options that we can do utilizing our forms in CloudRadial. We do have dashboards that allow you to see kind of like ticketing summaries, if that's something that you want to take a look at or present in a way. If you like looking, if you have customers that like seeing dashboards of ticketing, so if you end up getting into the portal and you want to see that dashboard information, depending on your PSA, you may have more or less access. But with ConnectWise, you'll see here we have the ability to see kind of like an overall service dashboard that shows ticketing history, the different users that are submitting tickets and how many. We can see here that Ricky seems to be Ricky's kind of a problem, so we may need to reach out to that company and let them know Ricky needs to really tone it down, or we're going to start charging more money for tickets, that kind of thing. But you also have the ability under the dashboards to review ticketing data at a high level.